let's do this length of last word LeetCode. So given a string s consisting of words and spaces, we want to return the length of the last word in the string. The way I'm going to do this is with a for loop, since we have to examine multiple elements or characters inside of this string. So to start this out, we're going to be inside of here, we're going to have a for loop. We want to run from the back to a space. So we'll have int index, and I'll set it equal to s.length, so the length of our string, but -1 since index is 1 less than string. And then we are going to want to run this as long as index is greater than or equal to 0, so we can examine all indexes inside of here. And then we'll do index minus so that eventually we can reach the end. Inside of this for loop, there's only really two cases: if there's a space and if there's not a space. If there is not a space, meaning that there is a word, if our s at a certain index, so we'll have these brackets here, and then we're going to pass in the index because it's based off the index variable that we created right here. If this does not equal to a space, which is just going to be single quotes, we are going to want to add to a counter that we're eventually going to want to return because this is an int. So we can have counter plus plus. Let's make our counter up here. Int counter is equal to 0 initially. And then we can go down here, and then we can just return our counter. Now, if there is a space, like how we have right here, we want to be inside of here, so we can say else if our s index is equal to a single space, then we want to return our counter. Now, there is a problem, and the problem is, what if we have this right here at the end, spaces here? Well, we're actually going to ignore these, and we're going to go to the very first word after these spaces and return that. So instead of this else if right here, so we can make another case right here and handle this right here. We don't want to return if our counter is still 0 because that means we're at the end. So we can say else if our counter has changed, meaning now it is greater than 0, we can return our counter. And I actually don't think we even need this because we have the case handled to where if it is a character, we're just going to want to increment our counter. And if it's a space, it's going to be handled in this else if automatically because it's an else, right? It catches everything as long as our counter is greater than 0. So submitting this, we get a runtime of 3 milliseconds. That's how I would do it for the C++ solution with this LeetCode for length of last word.